Let me start the class. Let me recapitulate. Out of the 6 units in corporate valuation, we have completed 4 units. Unit 5 and Unit 6 are remaining now. My objective is to complete these 2 units for the next 2 weeks, that is by May 3rd. And if classes are going to resume from May 4th, we will be able to take up the numerical problems associated with this unit. I want to complete this whole theory part of this subject. We are having another 2 units, Unit 5 and Unit 6. It might require another 10 to 12 sessions. So we try to complete this. Today, let us start Unit 5. Let me start sharing the screen. Please go through this. So this is Unit 5. There are 4 important components in this unit. In fact, it is a mixture of 4 issues or components, not totally unrelated. They are related in a way, and they are being included and examined in this. So these are the issues included in Unit 5, leverage decisions, then agency costs of debt, then financial distress and bankruptcy issues associated with companies, and then the role of government and securities market and financial institutions in certain unique valuation cases like IPO valuation. When you are going to make an IPO, how you are going to, especially in case of book building, you will have to set the price band or price range and how you are going to do this. And in case of M&A, some of the things associated with this we had noted in the previous semester, that is in MSAR. We are going to recapitulate and we are going to refocus on the valuation in case of mergers or takeover of one company by the another company. How does the acquirer values fixes the price, sets the purchase consideration at the time of taking over another company. So these are the 4 apparently looking independent, but they are not totally independent, exclusive topics. They are related in a way, and all these issues, in one way or the other, have a bearing on the corporate valuation area or discipline. So while discussing these different issues, we are going to study these issues not from the academic point of view, but from the perspective of their relationship, their implications, their impact on the value of the firm, or broadly speaking, the corporate valuation. So we need to keep an eye on this relationship or the implications. That is what I expect you to note. Now let us start with the first aspect, that is leverage decisions. Leverage is a very common term a finance student comes across, especially in corporate finance. Leverage is a very commonly referred to issue or concept or terminology. What does it really mean? Leverage, probably you are aware, I need not repeat this. The term has emerged from what is called a lever. Lever is a thing, something which you use to make another object, another product move swiftly, move easily, move conveniently. For example, you use a crowbar to move a big stone, right? If you push the stone with all your strength, physical strength, you might not be able to uh, push the stone or the big round stone. But if you use a lever with a small stone behind below this, and if you use a crowbar to push it or lift it, then the stone will start moving. So this is nothing but this instrument is called lever in physics. This has come from physics. So leverage is something which is used by the companies to uplift something else. Leverage is a tool or an instrument even used by the companies with a purpose of amplifying, with a purpose of improving, with a purpose of increasing something else. What is that else? What is the tool the companies use? And what is that something else the companies want to improve with the help of this tool? So that is what is the meaning surrounding the term leverage. So leverage is an investment strategy. This is basically, especially in corporate finance context, leverage is a strategy followed by the companies with respect to their investment. You all know investment requires funds. You cannot make any investment without having funds in your pocket. Now, how are you going to raise the necessary funds for the purpose of investment? Suppose you have to invest in plant and machinery. You require money for this. Suppose you want to buy a plant worth 10 crores. Where do you get 10 crores? This means the answer to this is how do you finance, or to rephrase this issue, how do you finance your investment of 10 crores in plant? Where do you raise this 10 crores from? There are different avenues. One of the strategy is to use borrowed money. If you don't have 10 crores of your own, if you call equity, to invest in or to buy that plant or to make investment in the purchase or acquisition of that plant, we have another option, that is borrowing. If I have my own money, I will use it. If I don't have the money, but if I still want to purchase that equipment or make investment in that equipment or plant, I have no other alternative left for me but to borrow from outside, right? So leverage, this strategy of using borrowed money for the purpose of investment is called leverage. Please be very, very clear about this. Leverage is is an exercise or a strategy adopted by the companies, right, to make investment in fixed assets or whatever other current assets, etc., by using borrowed funds, by using borrowed money. Specifically, the use of various financial instruments or borrowed capital. We have a number of alternatives or options or instruments of debt or borrowings. It can be a term loan from a bank or financial institution. It may be a bond, or it may be a debenture, or it may be any other debt instrument. Using the debt for the purpose of investment in fixed or current assets is known as leverage. And why are we using this leverage? I told you at the beginning of this session that leverage is something where you use one tool to improve or to affect the another objective or another task you have got. The task is apparently very, very tough, but by using the lever, you are going to make that task easy. You will make that task convenient or comfortable. Now here, debt is being used as a lever, used as a tool or an instrument for another objective. The objective is not to use the debt. The objective is to use the debt to subserve another objective. What is that objective? To increase the potential return of an investment. That is the crux of, or the essence of leverage. Leverage on its own does not have any value. But when you use the leverage for the purpose of achieving some other objective, the objective most commonly is to increase the potential or future return of an investment, then we say the firm is using leverage to its advantage. So leverage in business terminology really just means debt. I told lever is an instrument. Here, debt is an instrument. So leverage is nothing but debt. It is the borrowing of funds to finance purchase of inventory or equipment or any other asset for the purpose of financing, for the purpose of acquiring, for the purpose of purchasing any fixed assets or current assets. If the firm makes use of debt instead of equity, please note we say the company has employed leverage. Company has adopted leverage. right? If there is a zero debt company, if there are no loans, no borrowings, no debt on the liability side of the balance sheet of a company, we say it is an unlevered company or a zero debt company. It is very, very rare to find a zero debt company or unlevered, though there are, it is not unusual. There are, but it is not very common. Almost all firms use debt not because it is cheap, but because it has a potential to improve the return on investment, return to equity shareholders, or the earnings per shares, equity shares. So it has that potential, especially because of, as we have already seen elsewhere, especially because of the tax shield or tax advantage available on debt, more specifically available on the interest paid on debt. This has the potential to enlarge or amplify. You use the word amplify. Amplify, you know, amplifier. It, it expands the sound, the voice. In the same way, that has the leverage has the potential to enhance, multiply, amplify the return on the investment by other investors, normally the equity shareholders. So that is what we need to understand from this concept of leverage. Are you able to follow these things? Rashmi, can you follow these things? Hello, are you
Yes,
there?
sir.
No? Are you able to see this?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
sir.
Try to connect this to your
Yes,
course material which I have shared. There you find a large amount of the material. I have captured the essence in these slides. So if you require, I normally retain this slide for 3 to 4 minutes. You can even note down if you are doing that. Okay, this is like a summary.
okay, sir.
Now, this leverage could be of three types, basically two types, and one is a combination of these two, that is the third. The operating leverage, financial leverage, and the combined leverage. I'm sure most of you have come across these terms and their respective meanings earlier. Let us recapture it. So we need to understand as part of leverage decisions issue of this unit that there are three distinct types of leverage a company can employ: the operating leverage, the financial leverage, and combined leverage. The number is 26 as of now, still very, very low. I don't know why, in this weekend mood or what. Okay, let me go to the next. What is operating leverage? Quite commonly seen in any revenue account or profit and loss account. Operating leverage refers to the percentage of fixed costs that a company has. You are aware, as part of management accounting, cost accounting, a firm, as part of its operations, normally incurs two types of costs. One, fixed cost, another one is variable cost. The basic meaning or difference between these two types of costs is, in case of fixed cost, the amount remains the same irrespective of the level of production. Whether you manufacture 1 lakh units, the amount will be same. Whether you manufacture 2 lakh units, the amount will be same. It is fixed. It is fixed irrespective of the level of production. That is fixed cost. Normally, the fixed costs are like the depreciation, salaries, and wages. For example, see here, the fixed cost of all the teachers that our college pays, the salary pays that our college pays to all the teachers is fixed. The last 1 month we did work. Sorry, you are working here, but officially you are not there in the college. But college had to pay the salary. In fact, college has paid the salary. So, irrespective of the level of activity, whether it is full-time or part-time or at home or in the campus, online or offline, the college is bound to pay the salary. So it is fixed irrespective of the level of activity. So normally salaries and wages and depreciation, whether you use the machine or not, some part of the depreciation will always be there. You can't help it. There will always be wear and tear, and you have to pay that. And in certain cases, for example, the minimum deposit, whether you use that or not, whether you use electricity or telephone or not, you will have to pay a fixed rent. So that paying that rent is a fixed cost. Whether you use that power or use that phone or not, you have to pay during the month. You are aware of this. So again, rent. Suppose you have taken a house on rent. 15 days you might not be there, but whether you are there or not for 15 days, you will have to pay the entire month's rent to your landlord. So that is a fixed cost. So fixed costs are those costs incurred by the company, irrespective of the level of activity. Whereas variable costs are diagonally opposite to this. These variable costs vary according to the level of activity. For example, the cost of raw materials. If you increase the production, raw material cost will go. If you reduce the production, raw material cost will come down. Right? So if you increase the production, probably will use more raw materials, more units of raw materials multiplied by their unit cost, so variable cost will go up. If you reduce the production, you will use less units of less quantity of raw material, accordingly less number of raw materials into their unit cost. The total variable cost will be less. So these are the two types of costs. Basically, there are again semi-fixed or semi-variable costs. Their proportion is quite small. They remain fixed till certain level of activity, but beyond that they will start varying. They are semi-fixed or semi-variable costs. That is there. That is a special area. Otherwise, basically we have two types of costs: fixed costs that remain the same, that remain constant, irrespective of the level of activity, whereas variable costs change according to the changes in the level of activity or the volume of production or whatever. Stated another way, operating leverage is the ratio of fixed cost to variable cost. So we know basically the firm has incurs two types of costs always. There are fixed costs, there are variable costs. What is the ratio between these two costs? Whether in your organization, if you spend 100 rupees of cost, what is the ratio of fixed cost? Whether it is 30 rupees, remaining 70 rupees is the variable cost, whether it is 70 rupees fixed cost, whereas 30 rupees is the variable cost. What is the ratio? This ratio is nothing but operating leverage. So operating leverage is the ratio of fixed cost to variable cost in the total cost incurred by the company in a given period or for a given activity. If a business firm has more fixed costs, suppose out of 100 rupees of total cost you have incurred, if the fixed costs are more, say if the fixed costs are 70 rupees compared to variable costs, which are only 30 rupees, we say the firm has a high operating leverage. So this simply means if the proportion of fixed costs in the total cost is written, if the proportion of or the share of fixed costs in the total cost incurred by the company are high, we say the company is or the firm has very high operating leverage. And the converse is, if the fixed cost share is less, say below 50%, below 40%, 30%, and conversely, the share of variable cost is say 60%, 70%, or 80%, we say the firm is operating and is having a low operating leverage. So operating leverage is a ratio. Ratio between what? Ratio between the fixed cost and variable cost. After 100 rupees, is it 70-30? It is fixed cost versus variable cost, or is it 37? What is the ratio? If it is 70-30, that is a fixed cost of 70, company has got very high operating leverage. If the opposite is true, if suppose the fixed costs are only 30% and 70% is variable cost, the same company is having a low operating leverage. Now, what is the impact of this? If a firm has high operating leverage means company having a higher share of fixed costs in its total cost compared to its variable cost. So if the firm has a high operating leverage, a small change in sales volume results in a large change in return on invested capital. This is the impact. So if you lose too much of fixed costs, then if there is a small change in the sales volume, if the sales volume, sales revenue changes by say 5% or 3%, then the resultant impact on the return on invested capital could be in the range of 10%, 15%, or 20%. This means a small change in because of fixed cost, because of operating leverage, because of high operating leverage, a small change in the sales revenue, sales volume has amplified, has enhanced, has increased, or it has changed the return on invested capital. So if you read from the right side, if a firm wants to increase its return on invested capital, normally the firm tends to have high operating leverage, because by using high leverage, because by using lot of fixed costs, a company will be able to increase its return on fixed cost. This is true up to a certain extent. In other words, firms with high operate, this probably when you work with numerical problems, you will be able to understand. In other words, firms with high operating leverage are very sensitive to changes in sales. Firms having high fixed costs, or in other words, high operating leverage, are very sensitive to changes in sales. A small change in sales might result in big change in the return on investment. Here, as reflected by their bottom line. Bottom line means profit. A small change in sales revenue might change the profits, might change the return or the revenue, net profit by a bigger percentage. So this is the amplifying effect of operating leverage. Small fixed cost, but its impact would be very, very high because of the existence of fixed cost. Any small change in sales revenue might result in a big change, big impact on the return or the profitability of the firm. So this is about operating leverage. Please be clear about this. It is the ratio between fixed cost to variable cost. High fixed cost means high operating leverage. Low fixed cost compared to variable cost, low operating leverage. If operating leverage is very high, its impact is on the return is very high. That is correspondingly, if the fixed cost ratio, if the operating leverage ratio is low, the impact on ROIC will also be low. So what we need to understand from the corporate valuation perspective is those firms which want to improve their valuation, improve their profitability, improve their return on invested capital, normally tend to have more operating leverage. So it is risky, they tend to have more operating leverage. In other words, more fixed costs. You should be able to identify the firms which normally have high fixed costs and low variable costs. For example, airlines, their fixed costs are very high because of the investment required to be made in their fleet, in the airports, in other support services. Their operating costs compared to fixed costs is very low. For example, a hotel, on the contrary, the fixed costs are very low with small kitchen and kitchen equipment, but operating costs, running the hotel, producing the various items, big menu, right from morning till evening, the variable cost will be very, very high. So you should be able to identify the industries where the operating leverage generally will be very high. Operating leverage will be generally high in case of transportation industry, especially in aviation. In case of railways, the investment in rolling stock is very, very huge. Whereas the operating costs in terms of salaries, wages, or fuel, diesel might be less. But in case of a hotel, it would be different. You don't find too much of fixed cost. You can run a hotel in a rented building. There might not be any investment in buildings, thereby incurring huge interest costs. You might run in a rented building, but your operating costs are, your variable costs are very high. To produce every additional plate of meats or this one, you have to incur on raw material, on fuel, on etc. etc. So there are certain industries where by nature the operating leverage will be very high, and there are other industries where by nature of that industry, the operating leverage will be quite low. So these things we need to understand from the perspective of corporate valuation. Ganesh Raikar, can you hear me? Ganesh Raikar, are you there? Has he left? Are you able to follow these things, Ganesh Raikar? Unmute your audios. Whenever I ask questions,
Audible, sir.
right
Audible, sir.
answer. Okay, okay. Now, what is financial leverage? First one is operating, second one is financial leverage. And financial leverage is our most important concept. Financial leverage refers to the amount of debt in the accounts of the firm. We know a firm requires funds to finance its acquisition of fixed and current assets. Without funds, no firm can expect to acquire the assets required to operate. Now, these funds could be raised in various forms. The principal main forms of funds available for a firm are equity and debt. Equity by the owners, debt by external lenders or creditors. So financial leverage refers to the amount of debt in the accounts of the firm. So out of 100 crores you have raised, which you have invested in various assets on the asset side of the balance sheet. How much of these 100 crores is from the equity and how much is from or is in the form of debt? So there you are using 100 crores as debt, which is quite unthinkable. It is not possible to finance your 100 crores of assets, or whether you have used 10 crores of rupees your equity and 90 crores of borrowed funds or debt to finance your 100 crores of investment in fixed and current assets. What is the ratio? What is the amount? What is the proportion of debt in your total financing? That refers to financial leverage. The use of financial leverage in financing a firm's operations has the ability to improve the returns to shareholders. Again, this is the amplifying effect of leverage, enhancing, improving effect or potential or capability of leverage. Using financial leverage, using higher proportion of debt to finance your operation, of course, to a certain extent, and which it is very, very risky. To a certain extent, using debt, using additional doses of debt has the ability to increase the return to equity shareholders. Again, on account of the tax advantage available for the interest on borrowings, interest on loan, which is a tax deductible expenditure. You know this when they're working out the financial accounts. So a 1 degree, 1% increase in the debt might help you improve the return on equity shareholders, return on equity by 5%. A 2% increase in the debt might help you to improve the ROE by 8%, by 10%, by 12%. So a 1% change in the debt has the effect of amplifying, multiplying, increasing the ROI by 2%, by 3 times, by 4 times. This is the impact, this is the potential of leverage, any leverage, and in this context, the financial leverage. But we know too much of financial leverage, however, can lead to a risk of default. If you take more and more debt, there will always be debt servicing obligations or commitments periodically, every quarter, every 6 months. You have to pay the interest and probably you will have to repay the principal installments. So that is a commitment. That is an obligation. And if your revenues, your cash flows do not support this, do not will help you to meet these obligations, these compulsory or contractual obligations to pay the interest and principal, you will run the risk of committing a default. And if you continue to commit a default consecutively, say for 2, 3 quarters, 2, 3 half years, the lenders or creditors may start suing you, taking action against you, right, for the recovery of their funds. They may start moving against or taking against the security mortgage. They might bring your assets for action. If your assets are sold out by the lenders or creditors to recover their funds, you will be left with no assets to run your operation. And finally, you will end up with what is called insolvency or bankruptcy. So, debt is like a sweetened tablet. You cannot take too much of this, right? Though it tempts, because using more and more debt helps you increase the return to equity shareholders, as we see in the second the bullet point. That it has the ability, but debt at the same time has the potential to push your organization to the risk of default, to the risk of bankruptcy. So you should be very, very careful by using financial leverage. So certain extent, using debt is very advisable. Taking loans is advisable instead of using your own funds. But beyond that, using debt to finance your operations, to finance your investment would be very, very dangerous. Every individual and every organization should remember this basic truth about financial leverage. It has a double-edged sword, right? It has the potential to help the organization